stop him because he was not following us. Jesus said, "Do not stop him. For no one who does a deed of power in my name will be able soon afterward to speak evil of me. Whoever is not against us is for us. For truly I say to you, whoever gives you a cup of water to drink because you bear the name of Christ will by no means lose the reward. If any of you place a stumbling block before one of these little ones who believes in me, it would be better for you if a great millstone were hung around your neck and you were cast into the sea. If your hand causes you to stumble, cut it off. It is better for you to enter life maimed than to have two hands and go to hell, to the unquenchable fire. And if your foot causes you to stumble, cut it off. It is better for you to enter life lame than to have 2 feet and be thrown into hell. And if your eye causes you to stumble, pluck it out. For it is better for you to enter the kingdom of God with one eye than to have 2 eyes and be thrown into hell, where their worm never dies, and the fire is never quenched. Everyone shall be salted with fire, and salt is good. But if salt has lost its saltiness, how can you season it? Have salt in yourselves. Be at peace with one another. The Gospel of the Lord. I have had the opportunity to preach here at St. Mark 873 discretely different sermons. I counted. That's 873. Not just 873 times, 873 different sermons. Now, some of you have heard me make the comment at certain times that all good preachers only have one sermon. Great preachers have 2. But I would firmly place myself into the good camp, which means I have said 873 different occasions the same thing to you. Now, you'd think here at the end of most of our time together that I could cook up something new, but when you're on a roll, it seems to make sense to just let it. So, for the 874th time, I'd like to offer to you what I think this gospel says. As we're looking at this story, I offer to you that what undergirds everything that I have said and tried to do here over the last 15 years are 2 relatively simple propositions. The first is that God is dramatically changing the world around us. That God's business is about making the world something we could never have imagined on our own, and that God is doing this right now in our midst, in our lives, and in the lives of the people around us. And we see what that looks like when we look at the life, ministry, death, and resurrection of Jesus of Nazareth. Jesus, the one we call Christ. And the second is that in all of this, God invites our lives to become the very reflection of the life of Jesus in this world. That God invites our lives, in fact, almost demands that our life become the reflection of the life of Jesus in the world around us. That God will display his power in the world by showing it through our lives. And this means that our lives themselves have more meaning and purpose than we usually could imagine on our own. That everything that you are about is about reflecting God back to the world that is around you. That everywhere that you go and everything that you do is about showing the power of God's transformation of everything in the world. You see, I think that's what Jesus is talking about today when he says, even if somebody might not know exactly Jesus in the same way we do, everybody who reveals God's glory in the world is Jesus' person. And the only thing that gets in our way is us. And that's why he goes through that section. He's talking about if your foot causes you to stumble, if your foot gets in your way of being God's person in the world, cut it off. If your hand gets in the way of being God's person, cut it off. If your eye gets in your way of being God's person, take it out, because God's purposes are are so much larger than any single part of us. And those things that get in the way of being God's people, cut them off. Because God's world is so much bigger than anything we could have imagined. You see, we make excuses for why we can't, why it's not good, why it doesn't work for us now. And God says in Jesus, it is good for you now. It is the time. What you see and what you know is God's purposes. And God invites you, no matter who you are, or where you've been, or what your life may have been. God will use your life, as Jesus says, to change the world. That's why all the time I say to you, what you do outside of this place matters more than you can imagine. What you do when you leave this place matters to God in ways that few of us can probably ever completely understand. What happens in our lives as we go from this place and into our homes and into our neighborhoods and our jobs and our schools and our community, and reach out to places like Ecuador and China and the rest of this country. It's a reflection of who we believe God to be and what we believe God to be doing in our lives in this world right now. And whatever gets in your way of doing that, not at all. Because nothing is as grand as the visions that God can give to us. You see, that's all it's been for 873 times at this point. See? And now as we come to the end of all of these things together, I would hope that as you leave here, that you would be God's people. That as you leave this place, that you would remember the things that God has shown you. As you enter into that world this week, you would know that your life is nothing short of the reflection of Jesus' life in this world, and that what you do displays His power, His glory, His presence in the lives of all of those people that you are going to touch and interact with this week. Go this week, be God's people. Go from this place and show God's glory to the world around you. Go to the places that you're called to, knowing that God has sent you to those places to show the difference that is being made in the world around us. Leave this place. Be God's chosen people. All of those places that you go, display His power, and show His glory.